Andrew, who quite rightly is receiving everything that he's had coming his way, and I have completely adhered to everything you've said, is stuck on this wood farm up in Sandringham. I hear he's not even allowed to go out the front door to go horse riding. We talked the other day about people believe that there is a chance that he should or could be on suicide watch. What does he do all day, man?
On March 7th, 2026, the man formerly known as the Duke of York isn't just fighting for his freedom, he's fighting a bitter private war against the brother he believes betrayed him. The birthday arrest was a shock, but the real trauma for Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is the cold silence from the palace. Inside his Sandringham exile, reports describe a man consumed by a toxic sense of injustice, convinced that he is the victim of a constitutional sacrifice to save the king's crown. He's lost the HRH, he's lost the Royal Lodge, and now he's losing the one thing he thought was permanent, his family's protection. But as the walls close in, and even the king says the law must take its course, we have to ask, is Andrew actually a victim of a ruthless institution, or is he simply the first person to learn that being a Mountbatten-Windsor no longer makes you untouchable?
Well, I mean, what he did before, really, which was to basically mooch around all morning in his dressing gown and watch films. He used to go out riding. He can't now play golf, but he watches videos. He's always been a bit of a couch potato, and he's just doing exactly the same. I mean, he's talking to his lawyers. I think he's still hopeful that he can do business activities, but he's just leads a very quiet life. I think most of his friends have now abandoned him, so it's a pretty isolated world.
Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor isn't just fighting a legal battle, he's fighting a reality he refuses to accept. Inside the cold, quiet halls of his Sandringham exile, reports describe a man who doesn't see a suspect in the mirror, he sees a martyr. Sources close to the estate claim the atmosphere is explosive, with the former royal frequently spiraling into seething rages over his loss of status. Imagine being the favorite son for 6 decades, only to have your own brother essentially hand you to the police. The anger isn't directed at his past choices, but at the institution he believes has butchered his life to save its own skin. He allegedly spends hours pacing, surrounded by the remnants of a life that no longer exists, clutching to the belief that he is the victim of a constitutional hit job. But the most disturbing part, he reportedly still expects to be treated like a king in hiding. There are whispers of him demanding the same high-level service and deference he enjoyed at Royal Lodge, even as his staff is slashed and his security is stripped away. He is a man shouting at a storm, convinced that if he just yells loud enough, the world will remember who he used to be. The delusion is so deep that insiders say he viewed his birthday arrest not as a legal necessity, but as a personal insult timed to maximize his humiliation. He sees the "law must take its course" mantra from the palace as the ultimate betrayal, a cold-blooded move by King Charles to erase him from history. As he sits in isolation, brooding over a list of perceived enemies, he is reportedly preparing for a final stand that could blow the doors off the monarchy's remaining secrets. But while he plans his revenge, his physical world is shrinking even further. And the next blow wasn't coming from the police, it was coming from his own front door.
It is this great fall from grace, but actually people knew what he was like. I mean, and I don't know how much you had a sense of this, Andrew, when you were doing the book. I mean, clearly it was more difficult to be critical of the royal family, but everyone. I had a lunch a couple of days ago with a childhood friend of Andrew, and he was well known as a bit of a nightmare, and really very odd. You know, within those circles, they had no illusions that this was an accident waiting to happen. I mean, dozens and dozens of people have said this.
The keys to Royal Lodge didn't just open doors, they held together the last shred of a man's identity. But by early 2026, those keys were effectively snatched away. King Charles did what many thought he'd never have the stomach for. He served his own brother a final, unyielding eviction notice. The Battle of Royal Lodge was over, and it didn't end with a royal salute. It ended with moving trucks. Imagine the humiliation of the move. For 20 years, this 30-room mansion was a fortress of privilege. Now everything from his prized artwork to his eccentric childhood collections was being hauled out in plain view of the staff. It wasn't just a change of address, it was a public stripping of status. He wasn't moving to another palace, he was being sent to a 5-bedroom cottage at Sandringham, a place he reportedly described with pure vitriol as the middle of nowhere. The transition was anything but dignified. While the world watched, the man who once lived like a king was forced to settle into Wood Farm, a modest farmhouse that his father once used as a quiet retreat. To the public, it's a beautiful country home. To Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, it's a shoebox, a prison. But the real knife in the back, the timing. The king reportedly demanded he be out by Easter to avoid the embarrassment of having him lurking on the Windsor estate during the family's traditional gathering. He wasn't just losing his home, he was being erased from the family portrait before the holiday season even began. And as he sat in his new, smaller kitchen, realizing the HRH was gone and the security detail was being slashed, a terrifying reality began to set in. He wasn't just downsized, he was being systematically cut off. And the king's next move would prove that blood is much thinner than the reputation of the crown.
Just going back to William, you said he's becoming the dominant force. Is he calling the shots over the king, do you think, on this because he's got an eye on the future, Andrew?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's no love lost between the Walesers and the Yorks in any case. I mean, that goes way back to his youth. But I think he can see the reputational damage. I mean, it's extraordinary that the royal family always do too little, too late. I mean, they haven't got ahead of this story. And William, I think, wants to because he's got the guy who's got to pick up the pieces.
Blood might be thicker than water, but it's apparently no match for the survival of the crown. If Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was waiting for a secret royal rescue, the morning of February 19, 2026 provided a chilling reality check. While the former royal was being processed in a Norfolk police station, King Charles didn't reach for the phone to call a lawyer. He reached for a pen to sign a death warrant for his brother's reputation. The law must take its course. Those 5 words, issued in a rare, personally signed statement from the king, signaled the definitive end of the royal shield. It was a cold-blooded message to the world. The institution comes first, and the man formerly known as the Duke of York is now officially on his own. But it wasn't just the king. Reports suggest the entire family has entered a state of strategic quarantine. Prince William and Catherine have reportedly backed the move to let the legal process play out without a single word of palace interference. Even Sarah Ferguson, the one person who stood by him for decades, has been thrust into a state of distress and isolation, reportedly feeling abandoned as her own name begins to surface in the latest DOJ leaks. This isn't just about a police investigation anymore, it's a systemic erasure. The palace is allegedly prepared to support the authorities with full and wholehearted cooperation, including the release of thousands of internal documents from his time as a trade envoy. For a man who built his life on the idea that he was untouchable, this is the ultimate betrayal, the realization that he isn't just a suspect, he's a liability being cut loose to save the ship. As the gates of Sandringham remain locked, the world is left with one final haunting question.
The fall of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is more than just a headline, it's a warning. In 2026, we are witnessing the first time in modern history that a senior member of the firm has been stripped of everything: his home, his status, and his protection, all while facing the very real possibility of a criminal trial. He once believed he was a pillar of the British establishment, but today he is a man living in the shadows of a modest cottage, watching as the family he spent his life serving treats him like a stranger. The victim mentality may keep him warm at night, but it won't stop the investigation or the unsealing of more Epstein files. The question isn't whether he can recover. That door has been slammed shut. The real question is, who else is hiding behind that royal shield, and will they be the next domino to fall? Because if 2026 has taught us anything, it's that even 1,000 years of tradition can't stop the truth from catching up. And for the man who was once a prince, the truth is the one thing he can no longer afford.